When 64 Japanese planes attacked one P-40, what desperate solution did this lone pilot devise that left everyone speechless? It was December 13th, 1943, in the misty skies over the Assam Valley in northeastern India, where the Allied airfields buzzed with the vital mission of supplying China over the treacherous Himalayan hump. Here, the 80th Fighter Group of the United States Army Air Forces, known as the Burma Banshees, stood guard. Their P-40 Warhawk fighters, rugged and reliable with their Allison V-1710 engines and 6.50 caliber Browning machine guns, were the last line of defense against the Imperial Japanese Army Air Force's relentless raids. On this fateful day, 2nd Lieutenant Philip Adair, a 22-year-old pilot from the 89th Fighter Squadron, would face an armada that seemed plucked from a nightmare. To understand the gravity of this encounter, we must step back to the broader canvas of the China-Burma-India theater. By late 1943, the Allies were locked in a grueling campaign to keep supply lines open to Chiang Kai-shek's forces in China, ferrying tons of fuel, ammunition, and provisions over the world's highest mountains. The Assam Valley, with its key airfields at Nagahuli, Mohanbari, Chabua, and Dinjan, formed the western hub of this aerial lifeline. These bases housed not only fighter squadrons, but also transport aircraft like the C-47 Skytrains and C-46 Commandos, along with hospitals, rail terminals, and depots critical to the 10th Air Force operations. Enter 2nd Lieutenant Philip Adair, a determined young aviator from Virginia who had already logged 42 combat missions by this point. Assigned to D Flight as its commander, despite his junior rank, Adair flew a P-40N Warhawk affectionately named Lulabelle, customized with an electric starter and even white wall tires for a touch of personal flair. His crew chief, Carol Peake, ensured the aircraft was always in peak condition. Adair was no stranger to danger. The squadron had clashed with Japanese fighters just days earlier, heightening alerts across the valley. The strategic situation was dire. Japanese forces based in Burma sought to sever the Hump route by bombing these airfields, crippling Allied logistics and isolating China. Intelligence warned of increased raids, but on this clear yet hazy morning, the 89th was on Hump patrol while other squadrons handled defense and interdiction. Little did Adair know, as he returned from his uneventful 43rd mission, that he was about to become a one-man bulwark against overwhelming odds. The human element here is profound. These were young men, far from home, gripped by the weight of responsibility. Adair, with his quiet resolve, embodied the spirit of those who flew these unforgiving skies, where mechanical failure or enemy fire could end everything in an instant. The fear was palpable, yet duty called them onward. As the morning wore on, tension simmered beneath the routine. By 11:30 hours, Adair had just landed Lulabelle at Nagaguli Airfield, the dirt runway still settling from his tire's touch. Peake began refueling and servicing immediately, the sharp scent of aviation gasoline filling the air. Adair headed to the alert tent, his flight suit damp with sweat from the 3-hour patrol. Suddenly, the red alert sirens wailed, piercing the crisp December air like a banshee's cry. 3 signal shots echoed from operations. Enemy inbound. Pilots scrambled, boots pounding the earth, hearts racing. Adair sprinted the 100 yards to his plane. Peake, already in the cockpit finishing paperwork, fired up the engine with the electric starter. Adair leaped in from the left as Peake vaulted out the right. No time for parachute or full harness. Throttle forward, Lulabelle roared down the runway, airborne in under a minute. The other pilots struggled. Mechanical issues and scattered aircraft delayed their launches. Adair climbed alone, circling at 12,000 feet, per standard operating procedure, maintaining radio silence to avoid tipping off intruders. From his vantage, he spotted what looked like 4 distant aircraft to the east, silhouetted against the haze. But as he orbited higher, the truth emerged. Not 4, but a massive formation. By 11:45 hours, at 15,000 feet, Adair radioed control. Unknown aircraft sighted, approximately 15 miles east, northwest heading. Control dismissed it, citing ground observers, placing bogies 40 miles farther out. Frustration boiled in Adair's voice as he insisted, "Negative, they're closer." Undeterred, he broke rendezvous, climbing to intercept. By 1200 hours, closing from behind at 18,000 feet, the scale horrified him. 24 Mitsubishi Ki-21 Sally heavy bombers, arranged in 4 V formations of 6 each, lumbered toward the valley. Escorting them, 40 Nakajima Ki-43 Oscar fighters, weaving individually like angry hornets. Total, 64 enemy planes, the largest Adair had ever seen. The bombers, each carrying up to 2,200 pounds of ordnance, aimed to devastate the airfield complex. Their course, north past the targets for a 180-degree turn, aligning for an outbound bomb run. The air was thick with haze, reducing visibility to a few miles, the bitter cold seeping through Adair's cockpit canopy. Fear gripped him, the isolation, the odds, but determination steeled his resolve. He trailed undetected, sun glinting off the enemy fuselages as they began their turn at 12:15 hours. Adair updated control. Enemy formation turning for bomb run, ETA 5 minutes. Still no reinforcements. Other squadrons chased false reports. Alone at 20,000 feet, Adair faced the approaching threat. 200 yards separated him from the trailing Oscars, their radial engines droning ominously. The ground below, dotted with tea plantations and jungle foothills, seemed worlds away. What happened next would become legendary. By 12:20 hours, the bombers rolled out, lining up on Mohanbari and Nagaguli. Adair positioned for attack, his 50 calibers loaded with 1,500 rounds. The tension built like a storm. The deafening roar of 128 enemy engines, the glint of rising sun emblems, the sheer impossibility of one P-40 against this horde. Adair's hands sweated on the stick. One mistake, and he'd be swarmed. The crisis peaked as the bombers neared bomb release, just minutes from unleashing hell on the valley. Adair dove from high left, tracers arcing at maximum range into the lead flight. Hits sparked on fuselages, bouncing formations disrupted. He dropped to the left echelon, firing bursts, then swung behind for the right flights. Sensory chaos engulfed him. The acrid smell of gunpowder, the jolt of recoil, the whine of his engine at full throttle. Oscars reacted, but surprise bought precious seconds, clearing the bombers 200 yards out. Adair spotted Oscars closing. Stick full forward, left corner, -G outside roll into a screaming dive. Stomach churning, he plummeted to 5,000 feet, pulling out hard, muscles straining against G-forces. Alone again, he climbed back, haze cloaking his ascent. The bombers pressed on, but their run was off. Bombs would fall inaccurately. Second pass, Oscars swarmed as he aimed for bombers. Deflection shots into the fighters, hits on one, engine flaming. Through the melee, speed his ally, escape dive again. Breath ragged, cockpit hot from exertion. Third pass, targeted a trailing Oscar, guns chattering. The enemy spun out, gear dropping, crashing into Naga Hills jungle, 3,000 feet below. Confirmed kill by 12:30 hours. Bombs fell sporadically on the fields, destroying some grounded planes and one in the air. But Adair's disruptions saved many. Fourth pass. Oscars anticipated, tracers whizzing past. Hits on Lulabelle. Explosion behind cockpit. Fire flashing around armor plate. Controls sluggish. Elevator damaged. Zeros from below, fired upward. Lead angles perfect. Adair wound full nose-down trim, diving steeper. Everything seemed lost. Ammunition low, fuel dwindling. Plane wounded. 64 enemies unrelenting. The weight of command crushed him. Failure meant devastated bases, halted supplies, lives lost. Pain from burns, the bitter taste of fear. Impossible odds. In that desperate moment, Adair's ingenious solution emerged. With controls damaged and unresponsive to stick pressure, bailing out seemed the only option, standard protocol for a crippled fighter. But against impossible odds, he refused. Sheer determination surged. He used the elevator trim wheel to full nose up, compensating for the damage. Slowly, Lulabelle responded, leveling out just 500 feet from the deck. The fire extinguished itself, hits confined to non-critical areas. This unexpected maneuver, manual trim override in a high-speed dive, allowed him to regain control without abandoning his post. Little did the Japanese know, this lone pilot's refusal to yield turned the tide. He climbed once more, bluffing attacks on the retreating formation, drawing fighters away from bombers. Though out of ammo, his presence forced evasive maneuvers, further disrupting their escape. For 3 brutal hours total. But in this turning point, Adair's heroic decision to fight on with a damaged bird saved the core infrastructure. The human spirit triumphed. A young lieutenant's quick thinking and resolve, born from training and grit, outwitted superior numbers. The raid ended with the Japanese formation fleeing over the Naga Hills into Burma, their bombs causing damage, but not the catastrophe intended. Allied losses: 1 P-40 shot down. Pilot Lieutenant May bailed safely, claiming a bomber. Several grounded aircraft destroyed. Minor casualties on the ground. Estimated 10 to 15 personnel killed or wounded. Japanese casualties: Adair's confirmed Oscar kill. 2 probables, damaged bomber and fighter. Other pilots like May and the Mokal Bari group added 1 bomber and 5 Oscars destroyed, several damaged. Total enemy losses: around 7 to 10 aircraft. Adair nursed Lulabelle 100 miles back to Nagahuli, landing safely despite hits to wing, fuselage, and tail. His actions retarded the attack, saving countless lives and preserving the Hump route's viability. For this gallantry, he received the Silver Star, pinned by superiors in recognition of his solo stand. Later, Adair achieved ace status with 5 confirmed kills, earning the Distinguished Flying Cross and Legion of Merit. His legacy endures as one-man Air Force, inspiring aviators on the triumph over adversity. The human cost: burns, exhaustion, lost comrades, underscored war's brutality, yet highlighted unbreakable resolve. This was just one of countless untold stories from the Second World War. Subscribe to the War Archives as we continue to bring these forgotten chapters of history back to life.